Slam the hammer. Let's do it. We're going to use the hammer today. Good morning. Welcome to the August 5th, 2019 Board of Supervisors meetings. If you'll please rise. I have asked Supervisor Gould to lead us in the invocation and Supervisor Bishop to lead us in the pledge.
If you'll please join me in prayer. Lord, we thank you and praise you for this great nation and this great state and county that you've given us, Lord. Lord, please give us wisdom to run our county wisely, Lord. Lord, protect our employees as they're out in the heat today. It's extremely hot, and make sure that they stay hydrated. Protect our first responders also, Lord, and our soldiers, sailors, airmen, and Marines. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Amen. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, need a motion to call for an executive session to be held on August 19th, 2019 at 9 a.m. So moved. Yeah, Supervisor Watson, are you with us?
Yes, I am. Thank you.
All right. So I have a motion.
I'll second. I'll second the motion.
We have a motion second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
Motion and action to approve waiving the reading in full of items presented for discussion, adoption, or approval at this meeting.
So moved.
Second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
Now we're off to official business. Discussion of pending or contemplated litigation, claims and demand. Mr. Esplin?
Nothing to report to the board, thank you.
Okay. Committee or legislative reports. Supervisor Johnson.
Nothing this morning, Madam Chair.
Supervisor Bishop.
Nothing this morning, thank you.
Supervisor Gould.
None this morning, Madam Chairman.
How about you, Supervisor Watson?
And none this morning.
Okay, good.
Thank
I have
you.
nothing as well, so we'll move on. Do we have a county administrator's report?
I have no report today, Madam Chairman. Thank you.
Motion for approval of the June 3rd and June 17th, 2019 Board of Supervisor meeting minutes.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries. On to the call to public. Those wishing to address the board at the call to the public regarding matters not on the board agenda must fill out and submit to the clerk a call to the public request to speak form located in the back of the room prior to the meeting. At the conclusion of an open call to the public, individual members of the body may respond to criticisms made by those who have addressed the public body, may ask staff to review a matter, or may ask that a matter be put on a future agenda. However, members of the public body shall not discuss or take legal action on matters raised during an open call to the public unless the matters are properly noticed for discussion and legal action. I do have quite a few people. Remember, 3 minutes. Come up and say your name and address for the record. And here we go. Arthur Gernika.
Yes, my name is Arthur Gernika. I live at 3902 East Packard, Kingman, Arizona. At the last NACFED board meeting, can you hear me?
Yeah, a little louder, please.
All right, at the last NAC board meeting, I observed a conflict of interest. It was Jim Bailey and John Bryant. Jim Bailey gets money from the city of Kingman for retirement. John Bryant's girlfriend is the supervisor dispatch for the city of Kingman. And then, and another thing, I was upstairs. I talked to Ryan Esplin and I asked him about the stuff that I brought to you. He said they're not going to push forward with none of the stuff I brought to you guys. He said it was he's not criminal, he's civil. But I just had a question, like, when Victor Riccardi, Sue Wilkins, and all them, and Wayne Eder came in, he ran real quick with that one. And the judge had said, we're going to go for all conflict of interest to, oh man. So when I was the judge said they were going to go for all conflict of interest, and Pat Moore got on the stand and said that, openly admitted that he committed conflict of interest with True Value. And they're not going after that, and I brought that to you guys. And it's like, is he doing a favor? Are they doing a favor for somebody? Because why is it, they went after Vic and Sue and all them, but they're not going to go after someone that openly admitted on the stand? And then they had took a fire truck out of district, and I made a complaint about that and brought to him. He said they're not going to go after that. I made another police report because they tried to cover it up at our board meeting, saying that they had no policies or nothing about taking the fire truck out of district. But Michael Boone had put a report, public record request in, and they gave them a thing that they all voted on in 2018, saying that, and on that the laws were, it's not prohibited for a person to take the fire truck out of district for personal use. It was a crime. But no, they don't want to do nothing to these people that are doing it, and I don't understand why. That's all I want to say. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, Rick Dissinger, please state your name and address.
Hi, my name is Rick Dischinger. I live at 4942 Mission Drive, Topac, Arizona. I'm requesting if I could have extended time as I'm speaking for a group.
Absolutely. You said you needed about 6 minutes?
6 minutes.
Okay, you're on.
Thank you very much. Board Chair, board members, Mojave County staff, I am here representing concerned citizens of Golden Shores. I'm a retired assistant superintendent of schools living here full-time. Unfortunately, I'm here today to express a high level of concern regarding several areas, and we are asking for your help. As noted in the newspaper, we are now aware of a $6 million surplus. As you discuss this and are contemplating raising taxes, we find it disturbing that you're not using the money that you have, yet wanting more. Could we use what we have and take care of several key public safety issues you have here in this county? One of the key components of living in a safe town, city, or community is that the properties maintain a reasonable level of value which attract others to move in and do the same. I know each of you most likely live in a neighborhood that I just described. Unfortunately, our community is beset with slumlords, trash heaps, and rundown or abandoned homes. Right now, your code enforcement with 2 employees in the 2nd largest county in the state, 5th largest in the United States, has over 535 active complaints on the books. Many of our residents have called and tried to file complaints, yet there is rarely any response or action to alleviate the very codes you as board members are responsible for. Why have codes, laws, or anything else if you're not going to enforce them? Code enforcement is probably the key element in all the concerns that we'll cover today. Part of the $6 million could eliminate most of these problem areas, not only in Golden Shores, but countywide. While property values elsewhere are trending up, in our town they are trending down. Being creative, you could have your staff develop a volunteer citizens committee that could do much of the legwork that your staff is inundated with. That and having 2 staff per local area. Bullhead, Kingman, Havasu, Fort Mojave, and Golden Shores. Yes, 6 more staff, a mere drop in the bucket out of $6 million. How about the children who are living in these conditions, who are living in filth, come to school hungry every day without proper clothing and cleanliness? Child Protective Services could be a valuable tool in helping clean up our neighborhoods. Higher property values equal higher tax revenue. Secondly, as a community, we are highly concerned over the lack of response by our Sheriff's Department in handling day-to-day issues. Unlicensed vehicles, unlicensed drivers, let alone any high-level criminal activity such as breaking and entering, car theft, drug sales, drug use, and squatting on abandoned properties, stealing power and water. Our Neighborhood Watch program has been providing your Sheriff's Department with solid information regarding the above, and rarely do we get action or even response. If you have 2 deputies patrolling the county at any one time, Lord help those who are 45 or 60 minutes away in need of help. Unfortunately, California, Texas, and Ohio recently had active shooter incidents. What is the level of response or safety for our Topac Elementary students and staff if an incident occurs on their campus? Another Sandy Hook or worse? Our Neighborhood Watch program is a national watch program. In the last year, they have increased participation to over 125 members, elected a new board, revised the Constitution and bylaws, and are actively pursuing a safe and orderly community. Most Neighborhood Watch programs enjoy a solid relationship with law enforcement, sharing information and highlighting the things the sheriff has been doing to keep us safe. We do not have participation of the department in our meetings, an hour once a month. Let's fund and staff our sheriff department appropriately. Encourage our sheriff to use his men effectively and in places where they are desperately needed. Shooting radar on London Bridge Road is probably not a great use of tax dollars. Havasu has a police department. Bullhead has a police department. Kingman has a police department. Fort Mojave has a police department. We don't. Let's use part of the $6 million for effective training, a pay scale that attracts and keeps legitimate officers, and let's enforce the laws we have. Last on our list of community safety liability issues is fire suppression and prevention. Many properties have an abundance of abandoned vehicles, gas cans, other toxic chemicals, overgrown weeds, and paint cans that create a fire hazard and environmental issue, not even counting the vermin and snakes that are infesting these areas. Code enforcement, along with a properly staffed fire department, could make a huge difference. Recently, we lost 2 homes to fire, and when the dust settles, we found 9 abandoned vehicles on one of the lots. One member of our fire department rolled out on that fire because the other 2 were on another call elsewhere. One firefighter operating in the truck and fighting the fire looks like a liability claim in the making. Use the money. That's what it's for. And in conclusion, we're asking for your support in making our community a great place to be. We deserve nothing less. Our kids deserve nothing less. And we are willing to help to get the job done. Please allow me to extend an invitation to all of you to come to Golden Shores. Drive with us as we point out the many issues we have addressed here. We would love to see you. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Mr. Esplin, can I make a statement? It's just a general statement because I see a lot of people, I think, are under a misperception here. Can I make a statement?
No.
I can't. All right. Well, thanks a lot. All right. Then we'll
Thank you
go
again for
on.
your time. I appreciate it.
I've just to clarify, the call to the public is an opportunity for the public to speak, but the response is individual members of the public body may respond to criticism, may ask staff to review a matter, and may ask that a matter be put on a future agenda. Those are the only 3 items that can be done.
Okay. But even
At the end of the call.
Excuse me?
At the end of the call, you can make a
Yeah, at
statement.
the end. Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Leanne Hoagland Smith.
Good morning, Leanne Hoagland Smith, 3981 South Centennial Road, Golden Valley, and that is my physical address. First, a real belated thank you to Supervisor Johnson and Supervisor Angus for responding to some past private communications. It's always nice when people do respond to your emails and take them personally. The reason I'm here this morning is just really short and quick, is to have clarification around Proposition 117. Being new to Arizona, someone mentioned it, I did my research. It is to limit the valuation of properties up to 5%. There is no requirement for a 5% annual increase. So in the future, when you have those budget surpluses, part of that is because the valuation is going 5% annually. You may be holding your expenses, I don't know, but you don't necessarily have to raise taxes. Thank you so much.
Diana Francis.
I'm Diana Francis, and I live at 4919 Thule Drive in Golden Shores, Arizona, and that is my physical and mailing address. I have 2 requests. One, while I'm not against the animal shelter, I think there should be a ceiling on that price. That's an excess amount of money, and we have seniors that are homeless and dying because they can't even afford utilities. My personal Social Security is $300 a month. I own my own home. I need a new roof. I have nowhere to get additional money. And when you raise taxes, for me to just maintain my own home, it's kind of complicated and hard, really difficult. So I would just appreciate if you guys would really consider wasting so much money on animals when it could be spent to help people. And let's keep our property taxes low, if possible. And the other thing I had requested to speak about is, at some point, can you stop land taxes for seniors? There's no way for them to get additional money from Social Security. That they get what they get. There's no way to increase their paycheck like senators and congressmen can. They vote for it. We can't vote for an increase in Social Security. Nobody cares. So possibly consider no land taxes after a certain age. Give seniors a break somewhere, somehow. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Jem Morgan.
For the record, my name is Jem Morgan, 4370 North Charles Drive, Kingman. Thank you. Over this past weekend, I became aware of several Facebook posts written by Luana Gillette, posts with extremely xenophobic and racist content, which is why I'm here this morning requesting the removal of Luana Gillette from her appointed position on the Mojave County Planning and Zoning Commission. Ms. Gillette is serving as a public servant, so her personal beliefs become relevant when they are contrary to the values of our community and present a conflict of interest with the purpose of the Planning and Zoning Commission. But to make my point, I will simply ask you this. Would you vote to approve a person who stood before this board and said to you, "Hello, my name is Jane Doe, and I would like to be appointed to a county commission that creates policy in the form of regulations throughout Mojave County. And as a matter of full transparency, I want you to know who I am, what I believe, and the thinking process that will guide my votes and inform the way I will advise the commission." Because I'll tell you, just when we thought we had put racism behind us, we got Obama, who set us back years. We have a country that is turning brown, which means that in no time at all, white people will be in the minority, whether it be because of interracial marriages or illegals coming across our border. The United States is becoming more and more brown. We have to fight for our country, for America, in America. We must stop minorities from coming here and trying to change us. We had better wake up before we lose America for our children and grandchildren. I don't want them coming here and bringing what they left with them. I want them to come here and become Americans. These are just some of the quotes from Luana Gillette's posts, and when read as one narrative, they present the same ghastly anti-immigrant rhetoric that fueled the recent mass shooting in El Paso. So I ask you honestly, would you really vote to approve a person to the Planning and Zoning Commission who fully disclosed these values and beliefs? The first inhabitants of Mojave County are the brown-skinned Wallapai, Moccasin, and Fort Mojave tribes who experienced ethnic cleansing, were forced into government-sanctioned reservations within this county, separated from their family, living below the border, and told they could no longer teach their native language in public schools. White privilege wanted them to be Americans too. There should be no place for xenophobic racism to guide and inform our county process. Please remove Luana Gillette from the Planning and Zoning Commission. Thank you.
Okay, there are several people signed up on this topic. Mr. Espelin, again, if a private citizen's being talked about and they're not here, that's okay?
It's a First Amendment speech. The person has that ability to speak and
I just wanted to make sure.
Sure.
All right, then let's bring down Mark Shaver.
My name is Mark Shaver. I live at 4054 West Healer Drive, Meadview, Arizona, 86444. I came across this post because we're friends, and her stuff, when it comes on my newsfeed, become public. And I find it very disturbing that her views about minorities so compelling that I find myself coming here and speaking. This is a very rare thing for me, to be out here in the public. Words matter, so much so that I threw out my speech that I had written last night, because what the president said this morning pretty much echoes my feelings. And if you are disturbed, as I am disturbed, by her writings, which you all have a copy before you now, then it's hard-pressed for me to see that you don't see what the right thing to do in this matter. I'm not here to step on anyone's free speech. I'm here to voice my concern about the content of that speech and the reflection that she poses as an advisor to this board. Now, I shouldn't have to go any further than that, because if you truly believe in what the President of the United States said this morning, then you only have one correct option to do, and that is to voice your concern to the man who appointed her in some fashion, either privately, collectively, in an executive session, whatever. But you can't no longer sit idly by now that this is now in the public record. Your silence within the coming few days as reporters question you, hopefully, about this, that you will give the right answer that serves the best interest of all citizens in Mojave County. That includes the minority. Thank you.
Thank you. Mary McCord Robinson.
Good morning. I'm Mary McCord Robinson, 2626 North Twin Hills Road, Kingman. I too am here to talk about Luana Gillette and her post, and I do agree she has the right under free speech to do that. There were quite a few disparaging comments in there that do cause me concern, and her ability to be in her job and be unbiased when making recommendations. I have heard from many people in the last 24 hours at the small business level, women-owned small businesses, minority-owned small businesses, and some of those individuals are fearful of even coming here and sharing their concerns with you for fear of retaliation to their business. Some of the comments are, if they want to expand and they want to bring things forward, they don't believe, again, that this person can be unbiased. Her discriminatory views are out there in the open. Her comments are open. Yeah, I would be concerned I'm in an interracial marriage, right? If my husband and I were to come forward and present something and she were there, could she really be objective? From a workplace safety, I would be concerned of, how is she going to retaliate? And I do wish that she would have been here today and could speak on her behalf. There have been comments made back to her asking her for clarification on some of her comments, and she stands firm on her beliefs. And that's fine. We should all be given that right to do that. But again, in her position, serving the public, it just gives me concern. And I think whether it's removal, which would be my choice, I would be concerned, and I would encourage some serious coaching and counseling from a management leadership perspective as she represents all of you when she makes those comments. Thank you.
Sharon Webber. I know.
My name is Sharon Webber. I live at 715 Parkview Avenue in Old Kingman, right on the hill. And I just became aware of these statements yesterday. And I would agree with everyone who's spoken on this issue about Ms. Gillette prior to me. She does have the right to believe whatever she wants to believe. She has the right to say whatever she wants to say. However, in the last 48 hours, in this country, we have seen 2 mass shootings. One of the common threads in those shootings, and most of the other ones we've seen in the last year, are elements of racist language, rhetoric that inspires people to fear that they are being invaded, taken over by dark elements from other places. This county is made up of many different people from different races, different religions, different ways of looking at things. If we allow public officials paid by tax dollars to publicly espouse racist and xenophobic views, we are contributing to what may be a very dangerous situation in our own county, amongst our own people. There is no place for that in public life. It is true that somebody who works for the county is held to possibly a higher standard than somebody that works at Walmart, because they represent the county and they are paid for by us. And a whole bunch of us are brown and yellow and red and different. And if you all can't represent all of us, then you should not have a public position. Now, I don't know what y'all are planning to do, but something should be done. She should be spoken to or censured. My personal preference is, I can't see that somebody, what happens when an African-American couple or a Mexican couple apply for something through planning and zoning? Do they get slid aside? This is an untenable situation, and you all need to think about it clearly, because what you do and what you decide sets the tone for our county. Thank you.
Mark Iski.
Mojave County Board of Supervisors, good morning. My name is Mark Iski. I am a resident 735 Woodcrest Circle. I stand before you here today representing Kingman Freethinkers, a secular society of approximately 160 members locally. To the best of my knowledge, on or about July 29, Luna Gillette issued of the Planning and Zoning, a series of Facebook posts that included the statement, "This is a Christian nation." I like it like that. It's what we have always been and what we were meant to be. We take umbrage with this statement. I will not take any of our time illustrating constitutional interpretations or SCOTUS decisions of what our nation is or is not. But we are neither meant to be, nor are we legislatively a Christian nation. We are a multicultural, multiracial, multireligious, and non-religious nation. We are, in essence, a free nation. By her actions, we at this point have lost confidence in her ability to provide unbiased advice and consent, unbiased oversight and guidance, exercise unbiased legislative, executive, or quasi-judicial powers. Ms. Gillette has the honor and responsibility of representing all members of her constituency, not just one group, and favoring them. We ask to see no less than a formal apology to the people of Mojave County and/or Mojave County Board of Supervisors censure or replacement. I think it's an appointed position. I thank you for your time and your attention to this matter. Thank you very much. Have a good day.
Okay, I think this next speaker has something to do with this. Trisha Kristofferson. Trisha, is that it? Trisha? I'm trying to figure it out.
Hi there. My name's Trisha Kristofferson. I live at 1501 South Blake Ranch Road. That's also my mailing address. I'm here to represent myself and CADE, Kingman Area Diversity Endeavor, and I am also here to speak on Ms. Gillette's comments. I would like to assume that some of the posture I'm noticing is because y'all are so familiar with what we're discussing, not disinterest. Some of us here in this room have spent the better part of the last year working extremely hard at squashing what Sacha Baron Cohen exposed here in Kingman. As you may have seen, Sacha Baron Cohen painted our small town as an extremely racist area. I have grown up here in Kingman, Arizona, ever since 1984. We all knew it was here, but we like to pretend it wasn't. I think more often than blatant racism, we have a situation of isolation. We just don't have a whole lot of exposure to other cultures. And I'd like to give Ms. Gillette the benefit of that doubt. So what I'd like to do here today is invite you as the Board of Supervisors to come to the roundtable discussion that Kate is hosting tomorrow, moderated by Roy Tatum, the president of the East Valley chapter of the NAACP. It'll be from noon to 2 p.m. at the Mojave County Library. We'll be covering systemic racism and its impact today. I too would like to see Ms. Gillette removed from her appointed position, but if that is not something that you feel is called for, I definitely feel that she should be in attendance tomorrow. Thank you.
Okay, Steve Robinson.
And I thought what I had to say was going to be controversial. My name is Steve Robinson. My mailing address is 5373 Arizona Highway 68 in Golden Valley. I'm speaking about the call to the public. Last meeting, someone was afraid to give their name. It was said that he was mentally disturbed, and that's why he wasn't. Yet we've heard people today talk about being afraid of retaliation by the county or by the board. Because sometimes what is said here is rather offensive from this position. I know because I've said some things that have been rather offensive. What I'm trying to propose is that we need to, two things need to happen. One, the people need to feel safe to speak here without fear of investigations. I've had people from the county government drive by my place and take photographs, have investigations done on us because we speak out. That needs to all stop. And one of the things I think, though, on the flip side is people should feel free to speak their mind like they have today, and that's good. But there are three things I recommend to make the call to the public, which one of the supervisors opposed, make it more friendly. One, don't require the address, just their city. It's not required in state law, according to the form. Two, I would recommend agendizing, at least for review at the next meeting, anything brought up at that so it can be addressed. Hey, yeah, we're looking at this issue. This is an important issue that was brought up, and that we're going to deal with it, or there's nothing we can do about it, because some things you can't do anything about that are brought up here. The third thing is that to make the Board of Supervisors meeting more citizen-friendly, one of the things that Supervisor Gould brought up and you're looking at is moving the meetings to city to help get more people involved. I would recommend one more thing that would really make it more citizen-friendly. It's done in other counties. Have an evening meeting, at least once a month, have an evening meeting. All the department heads are salaried. They don't get overtime no matter how many hours a week they work. employees have flex time. They can take off in the morning and be here in the evening. Yeah, sometimes the meetings go really long. In the past, those meetings have gone into the next day when necessary. Thank God we don't have the meetings that were 2 days long going till 5 o'clock every day, but that's what has happened in the past. So making the call to the public more user-friendly, make these meetings more citizen-friendly would really help go a long way. And I'm going to do a lot more effort to be less confrontational in my speaking here at these meetings. Thank you.
Chris Cooper.
Morning. My name is Chris Cooper. Live at 2605 East Potter Avenue, Kingman, Arizona, 86409. I don't have a problem telling you that. If you want to come investigate, please do. I'm here, I want to talk about the excessive taxation that's going on right now. Mojave Community College just jacked my taxes up. Every time a teacher wants an increase, I get my taxes jacked up. I am 100% disabled, retired veteran on a fixed income. My wife just recently had open heart surgery and got laid off from her job in spite of the ADA. She's 55 years old and has not had any callbacks, even though she's got 20 years experience and a Bachelor's of Science degree. I have an Associate's of Science degree. A 61-year-old disabled veteran, what do you think my chances of getting a job are? And yet you keep jacking up my prices of my house. It's worth $85,000 and yet it's valued at over $130,000. I can't get a refinance on my loan because it's so underwater. Yeah, so I wondered where my program's going to be when I become homeless. That's all. Thank you.
Okay, and he was mentioned earlier, and Scotty is here. Come on down.
Yeah, I'm the one that tried not to give my name last week, and you were wrong. It's called free speech. I tried to do it as AAM, Anonymous Audience Member. That's all I should have to do is say AAM. If it's controversial, I shouldn't have to be shot in the butt or in the back because you won't let me talk up here. And you should have answered her question over here that she's on $300 a month Social Security. If she goes to the assessor's office, she's low income, under $20-something thousand, she qualifies for no taxes. Can't you guys let her know, help her out? You also get a little bit of your money towards DMV or tags. Tell these people out here that are making less than $24,000 that they can go to the assessor's office and get tax-free property, but you won't do that. I see what you're advertised in the paper here, and not in the Bullhead paper. I actually had a Kingman paper. Flood control, 3%. Primary property tax, 2%. Free library, it's called free library district, 3% on that lousy way it's run. The television's going up again. It's not much. It's still going up. And then in the same paper, they said we had a 5.2 increase in tourist spending. What happened to all the taxes we got from the tourists? College went up 2% every year for the last. I was the only person that went and griped at their meeting that they had when they had all three colleges at once. I was the only one. So don't bitch about your college going up. You didn't attend the meeting to gripe about it. This dog pound. Why should I have to pay for Kingman's dog pound? Bullhead City has their own. I believe Lake Havasu has their own. It's a good location if you're going to put it down there by the library. And but I don't know if Bullhead gets any money from the county. We don't, do we? We pay for our own dogs. I can't afford a dog because of the vet bills and all that stuff. So I don't have a dog in this fight. But why should I pay for Kingman's? I believe by you guys raising all these taxes, you're interfering in our trying to take over McCord. Because you're raising all the taxes, and all the voters down there are too stupid to know that it's not the city council raising the taxes. They're blaming the city council for all your guys that are raising the taxes. That was on a radio show here last week. A guy was griping about, I have 9 rentals down there, but all my taxes go up. They're blaming the city council. So you're interfering in our Texas election down there. And this clown from Chandler, this lawyer, I want him addressed. He's getting in our interference on that. You guys have a spending problem with other people's money.
Well, thank you, Scotty. I had 2 people who filled out white forms kind of late. They're both about taxes. Did you want to do, one is William Franzen. Did you want to do a general call to public or address it when we talk about taxes?
What, the television?
No, Scotty, this is not about you.
Oh,
okay. William Franzen.
It doesn't matter. It's kind of like clarification.
Yeah, it would probably be better when we actually talk about the taxes, okay? And Charlie Daly?
Right here.
Same thing? You want to come down and do a general?
Thank you.
Okay.
My name is Charles Daly. I'm at 614 South Emery Park Road in Golden Valley, 86402. And it's about taxes. At the same time, I think enough has been said about that. I definitely oppose them. And the reason being is Golden Valley seems to be the redheaded stepchild. I've talked to Gene Bishop at length. I do appreciate your work, you guys. But you know, I don't know how many of you read your Bible, but in Isaiah chapter 2 it says, "Come, let us reason together." Without some kind of providential care over the United States of America, which God does right now, okay, His sovereignty would dictate the reason why we have such a moral collapse is we have lost a moral compass. We have none. And what few little bit of moral compasses that we do have, little by little are being stripped away by, I consider, quote unquote, my free speech, the liberal left. They're anti-God, they're anti-Judeo-Christian ethic, and as Charles Haddon Spurgeon said, one of the Puritan writers in England, at any given time, every problem that mankind will face can be solved theologically. I don't know how many of you read your Bible, okay, whether you consider it just a book and or whatever. What you need to understand is every one of us will stand for judgment, whether good or bad or indifferent. You're not getting out of this life free. The justice that I believe Micah chapter 5 verse 2 says, that we're to love the widow, help the orphan, and God love justice, mercy. The justice that we have today, granted, is particularly in my mind's eye not just, okay? It'll always be that way. Why? Because we're, and I am the chief of one, sinners, as the Apostle Paul said. But in Romans chapter 13, verse 1, God tells us to subject ourselves to governing authority, for they are the ones that will make the laws, the rules, and be held accountable for it. I would just really have you folks look at one thing. The roads out in Golden Valley, I know Gene Bishop and I have talked about it, they're a disgrace to where we live. Gold Valley fever, you've heard it. It just needs to be addressed. I know you're doing shinarump with your seal coat and so on and so forth. The main roads that are actually driven the most need to have, they're down to hard pan, caliche. We need road base put on to get rid of the dust. So I just ask you folks to please take it within your heart to maybe just come on out to my house. I'll give you free beverages. Take a look at what we're dealing with. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And that ends the call to public, so I'm going to close the call to public, and we're going to go on. We have one presentation this morning to recognize members of the Treasurer's Office who recently completed the requirements for use of the Certified Government Investment Professional, CGIP designation, and this is being presented by Cindy Landa-Cox, who is our Mojave County Treasurer.
Did you want to take comments on the call to the public?
Oh, okay, wait, hold. It's Supervisor, do you want to say something in response to any of those call for public?
Yes, and I think you wanted to make comments on some of it, and maybe maybe other people. But I wanted to comment on.
And just so we can respond to criticism.
Right. I wanted to comment on the criticism about Mark Schaefer and the racism that's been portrayed on social media. And I just wanted to state that I would like to see this possibly placed on the agenda for the Planning and Zoning Commission to discuss this. So I see the director is making a note of that. So, and I did reach out to Mark, and I sent Luana's supervisor an email regarding this. So maybe it's time that the P&Z Commission take a look at that.
Okay, what I wanted to say, I think, can wait until we talk about the budget. I think there's a lot of misinformation out there about what's in this budget, because we are not raising rates this budget. So, but we'll talk more about that when the time comes, okay? So we've closed call public. I've introduced the presentation. Let's do it. Sorry about that.
Good morning, board, members, and your sidekicks. Sorry. I wanted to make a formal presentation about this because I think it's really important that you guys know what's going on and how we're improving the knowledge in the Treasurer's Office to do a better job for the county. I'm pleased to announce that 3 members of the Treasurer's Office Investment Committee, which I formed after the Oversight Committee that the board had dissolved in my office, recently completed the requirements for the Certified Government Investment Professional, CGIP, designation. The CGIP program covers 20 topics deemed critical for every public investment professional. The courses are taught by leading public sector practitioners and delivered by the Government Investment Officers Association, GIOA, education partner, Fixed Income Academy, FIA. Coursework is broken into 20 modules, and it covers a broad range of topics such as investment policies, economics, fixed income investments, instruments, and financial markets and banking systems. Participants also learn about various methods of technical analysis as well as best practices for working with broker-dealers and outside investment managers and advisors. The fiduciary responsibility of the county treasurer is not one that I take lightly. The county's investments have a material effect on the services that this county can provide its citizens. Recent years have seen a significant economic recovery. During these times, investments are often taken for granted. However, as we all know, economic conditions are cyclical in nature, and it is only a matter of time until we enter the next market downturn. The knowledge gained through the CGIP certification is critical regardless of economic and financial market conditions, but is especially useful in evaluating investment decisions during trying economic times. Having 3 CGIP certified individuals on the investment committee is a positive step to ensuring and continued success of the Mojave County Treasurer's investment program. The knowledge gained through the CGIP certification is critical regardless of economic and financial. Oh, I just said that. That's twice I've stood up here and done that. I really apologize, I can't read in order. Although each of the individuals will be acknowledged in a formal presentation at the GIOA's annual conference in March, I would also like you to please join me today in recognizing and celebrating the Treasury's newest certified government investment professionals, Randy Vanderplatz, my Chief Deputy Treasurer. Randy, if you could come up. Wade Stevens, Treasury Accounting Manager. And Luke Mornian, Senior Management Analyst. I have no certificates to give you. I have no money to give you, but thank you very much for going through it. I appreciate you being on the team, and this will help us move forward in a more progressive fashion and hopefully assist the county. That's the plan.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Cindy, so no money, no certificate. How about just a pat on the back or something?
Look at that. Yes, yes. Thank you guys so much. It was a lot of work for them.
Okay. Now we're going on to the consent agenda. The consent agenda items 5 through 60 will be considered as a group and acted upon by one motion minus any items pulled for discussion. Supervisor Watson, do you have any this morning?
None this morning, thank you.
Okay, Supervisor Gould.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. None this morning.
Okay, Supervisor Bishop.
31.
31. Supervisor Johnson.
57.
Excuse me,
7.
57. Okay. Okay, thank you. I need a motion to approve consent agenda items 5 through 60 minus 31 and 57.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, item 31. Acknowledge and accept the dedication of Schritter Way, as though I think I know why you took this out, as public right-of-way, being 60 foot wide. Okay.
That's a hard one to pronounce. So I pulled this off the agenda because it does relate to a family member, so I'll be recusing myself on the vote.
Okay.
That's all.
So I'll need a motion to accept 31.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries. 57. And scooch back now. Approve Mojave County Court's occupancy of the basement level part of the Public Defender's Office at 315 North 5th Street in Kingman for purpose of holding court proceedings deemed necessary to accommodate court services. Supervisor Johnson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We're building a new court. It'll be done in 2 years. Just seems to me we're wasting money.
Anyone else have something to ask? You wanna?
I just have a question. It's my understanding that this is a temporary move until the new court building is completed. County Manager Hendricks, can you confirm that?
Madam Chairman, Supervisor Bishop, the need for some additional space to hold the court was brought to my attention by the presiding judge, Judge Gertler. We identified that there was a courtroom existing in the Methodist Church, the old Methodist Church in the Public Defender's Office. That courtroom was slated for training, and it has very little use. I asked the court's Kip Anderson to work with the PDO and see if there's any conflict for that use to allow for the courts to utilize that facility, the basement. And I also asked facilities to give me an estimate and to work with the courts on what was needed to provide the necessary security so that courthouse would be functional. And I brought it before the Board of Supervisors so that you all could make a business decision on whether you will allow that use.
Okay, anyone else have questions or comments? And I will need a motion.
Supervisor Angus, I will make the motion to approve the remodel of this area.
Okay, do I have a second?
I'll second the motion.
Okay, we got a motion and second. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed?
Aye.
No.
All right, so it's 3-2. So we're done with the consent agenda and off to public hearings. Number 61, I'm going to open the public hearing. Sitting as the Board of Directors of the Mojave County Flood Control District, conduct the Truth in Taxation public hearing to receive public input on the Mojave County Flood Control District for fiscal year 2019-2020. Before I open it up for public, I just want to add something that was in, so everyone understands that the fiscal year 2019-2020 Truth in Taxation rate is provided by the Property Tax Oversight Commission for the Flood Control District is 48.4832 cents per $100 of assessed value, which is lower than the current rate of 50 cents. The current rate is the same rate that has been adopted each year since 2000, and it is in accordance with State Statute 48-3620. Just wanted to give you the rest of the story. So is there anybody else, anyone who'd like to speak on this? Flood control. Anyone? Then I will close the public hearing, and there is no action to be taken. I'll go on to the next one. I'm going to open the public hearing. Sitting is the Board of Directors of the Mojave County Free Library District. which I like an explanation to also. Conduct the Truth in Taxation public hearing to receive public input on the Mojave County Library District for fiscal year 2019-2020. Anyone like to speak on that? Anyone? Okay, I'm going to close the public hearing, and I'm going to go to 63 and open the public hearing. Conduct the Truth in Taxation final budget public hearing to receive input on the fiscal year 2019 to 2020 proposed final budget and tax levies. I do have somebody signed up to speak. Oh, no, 63. Yes, Mr. Robinson.
Stephen Robinson. The values, fortunately, have been going back up in Mojave County for the last several years, about 4, 5, 6 years. Yet even last year, you voted to increase the total revenues by 2% because that's the statutory limit. This property tax is about 35 to 40% of the county's budget, general fund budget. And yet it's been climbing. It's now going to be about, what, 39 million, 38 million is the proposed amount for this year. And yet it was only 35 million just 3 years ago. On top of that, we have seen a phenomenal increase in the county's finances over the last 4 years. We had a major recession. The last good year was 2008. There was $72 million in our revenues for the county general fund. We got back to that level in 2012. This past year, we were at 82 million, and we haven't seen the actual audited financials for 2019. They may be up over 85 million. So in the last 4 years, we've seen a huge increase in revenues, and yet every proposed budget from 2015 for 2016 on, there's been the same refrain in the budget message. Oh, we're so broke, we're undertaxing the people. We need more revenues or we're going to be in trouble. Like that gentleman Scotty said, we have a spending problem. And part of the issue is where are we prioritizing our spending? And in the budget, one of the issues is public safety. And when you look back at our Constitution, the original U.S. Constitution, they formed that Constitution to protect our national borders and provide regular commerce. We have ignored the public safety issue for far too long in our county, as was brought up by the people in Topak. So if you're spending money, you better be spending it on the areas that matter, not on whatever else we're spending on, public works growth and and other things like that. But so I think the rate should be lower because the amount of state shared revenue has gone up about 33% in 4 years, from 2013 or something like that to 2018. State shared revenue is pushing close to $40 million. So we're getting a lot more revenues if we have 82 million more last year than we did, 12 million more than we did in 2015. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone else who'd like to speak to item 63? Seeing none, I will close the public hearing, and we will go to the regular agenda. Let me just get my...
Okay, Supervisor Angus, could I make a comment?
Sure.
I just wanted to say that going back to 2014, when I was first came onto this board, the combined property tax and excise tax rate was $3.17 per $100 of assessed value. Primary property tax rate was 0.46 cents below the maximum rate, and the excise tax was below the maximum rate of a half a penny. So today, the combined property tax and excess tax rate is scheduled to be $2.76 per $100 value, and the primary rate is now 52 cents below the maximum rate, and the excess tax rate is going to be 0. So I just wanted to point that out. We've come a long way, and I think we've been very responsible with property taxes and sales tax.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Anyone else have a statement or comment? Okay. So on to 64. Sitting as the Board of Directors of the Mojave County Flood Control District. Discussion, possible action to adopt the Mojave County Flood Control District tax rate of 50 cents per 100 of assessed value and levy of $8,476,893 for fiscal year 2019 to 2020. I need a motion.
Madam Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to approve and adopt the Mojave County Flood Control District tax rate at 50 cents per $100 of assessed evaluation. The levy being $8,476,893 for the fiscal year 2019 and 2020.
Second.
Okay, we got a motion second. I need a roll call.
Supervisor Watson?
Yes.
Supervisor Johnson?
Yes.
Supervisor Bishop?
Yes.
Supervisor Gould?
No.
Chairman Angus?
Yes.
Motion carries 4-1.
Okay, item 65, sitting as the Board of Directors of Mojave County. Now, when do we put in free? Nothing's free. Free library district? It's not free.
Yeah, the
Somebody
statute
always
says
has to
it.
pick.
This is the first time I've even seen that, so I'm just going to delete that. All right, so the Mojave County Library District, discussion possible action to adopt the Mojave County Library District tax rate of 20.2716 per $100 of assessed value and a levy of $5,182,675 for fiscal year 2019-2020. I need a motion.
Madam Chairman,
Yes.
if it's actually called the Free Library District, your motion is probably not
I know.
legitimate. So you may want to amend your motion.
Well, I did. I took out the free.
No, you need.
Real name is the Free
Madam
Library District.
Chairman?
It's the Free Library District.
This is the first time I've ever seen that on an agenda.
Well, it's, I don't know, but I can say, yeah, by statute, it's the Free Library District.
All right. I apologize for my error. Thank you, and I will remake my motion that sitting as the Board of Directors of Mojave County Free Library District and to adopt the Mojave County Free Library District tax rate.
I'll second the motion. Thank you.
Okay, motion second, roll call.
Supervisor Watson?
Yes.
Supervisor Johnson?
Yes.
Supervisor Bishop?
Yes.
Supervisor Gould?
No.
Chairman Angus?
Yes.
Motion carries 4-1.
Okay, item 66, sitting as the Board of Directors of the Mojave County Television District. Discussion and possible action to adopt the Mojave County Television District tax rate of .0400 per $100 of assessed value for FY 2019 to 2020.
Motion to approve.
I'll second the motion.
We have a motion second, roll call.
Supervisor Watson?
Yes.
Supervisor Johnson?
Yes.
Supervisor Bishop?
Yes.
Supervisor Gould?
No.
Chairman Angus?
Yes.
Motion carries 4-1.
Item 67, discussion and possible action to adopt the Holiday Shores Lighting District tax rate of .0125 per $100 of assessed value and a levy of $4,000 for fiscal year 2019-2020. And for those, this is a special district in Bullhead City.
Chairman
Any
Angus,
motion?
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second that. Do I need a roll call for this? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
No.
Okay, now the Board of Supervisors will now recess from their regular meeting and convene, our regular meeting, and convene into a special meeting pursuant to ARS 42-17105 to take action to approve by motion and roll call vote the fiscal year 2019 to 2020 primary property tax levy in accordance with ARS 42-7107 and adopt the fiscal year 2019 to 2020 final budget with modifications as desired. So there's one item, and that is discussion and possible action to approve the adoption of Board of Supervisor Resolution Number 2019-083, thereby adopting the fiscal year 2019 to 2020 property tax levies and final budget with any applicable modifications. Anyone want to discuss? Anyone like to say anything?
Chairman Angus, before we go into session on this, could I get our finance director to just kind of give a summary of what it was that we just did with the with approving all of the tax items that were on the agenda? Because I don't think the general public really realizes that we have not raised taxes here this morning. So, Cora, could you just go over that in simple layman's term and lay it out for all of us, really?
All right.
Thank you.
Chairman Angus and Board of Directors, I will certainly attempt to do this in layman's terms. The tax rates overall really will remain flat. For the general government portion, which is the primary property tax, is being proposed that be reduced 2 cents, and that the TV district now adopted is increasing by 2 cents. So ultimately, the rate is remaining the same. For anyone whose assessed value in their properties have increased, by remaining a flat rate, will actually increase the tax that's due by a bit, by that difference. In some cases, is just a few cents in some of those areas. For any properties where the assessed value has gone down, the property taxes will actually decrease. So the truth in taxation rate that is required by law to be heard if the calculation of the rate or of the actual levy includes assessed value that is increased greater than 2% essentially, then the new construction portion of that, am I getting out of the weeds here? No, or it's not simple, but essentially new construction is subtracted out, and that the impact would be that the county operate in the next year on a flat assessed or a flat levy plus the construction. So that assumes that there's no other growth in cost, if you will. The 2% calculation is related specifically to the maximum tax rate. And as you know, that Mojave County at the primary level is about 52 cents below the maximum rate, and that the maximum rate actually produces about $10 million more than the rate that is proposed. So I hope that explains it and it's not too complicated.
It does. I think that explains it quite well. But can you also go into, since our assessor is not here, go into Proposition 117 and how that all reflects, because there's been some confusion and comments made.
Overall, that became...
I'm sorry, if I can interject. We're not talking about Proposition 117.
Okay.
It's not been agendized for that. We're talking about the budgets and the tax levies. I don't think.
Well, it affects the way that taxes are calculated, though.
That's the reason they gave us for certain things that we had to vote on. So I think it's relevant.
As long as it relates to the property taxation.
Okay, I could limit it to just the explanation of the limited property value.
Yes.
So in previous years, I should turn it over to Supervisor Gould, but in previous years, there was a full cash value that was used for primary property tax calculation, and there was a limited property value that was used for secondary districts or bond levies and things like that. The proposition overall changed the way that the tax is calculated for all of the districts. Was one action that occurred on that. It moved all of those districts to a limited property value for the taxation calculation. And the primary property tax was already on the limited value. So essentially, if the market value increases, let's say by 3%, and the limited value increased by 5%, then you would be narrowing that value between the two. And ultimately, by calculating it with the limited value, ultimately it was intended that there would be a cap on how fast property taxes would grow in the long term once the limited value reached the market value. However, if market value is increasing at a rate that's higher than 5%, then there will continue to be a difference.
Okay, can I make a comment? And because I think what people are referring to, that is that there's a cap on it, and you can only go to 5%. So when we asked the question, the assessor's office, Ken, can you come up, please? Sent me statute 42-13301, limited property value, that says the limited property value of property for property taxation purposes is the limited property value of the property in the preceding valuation year plus 5% of the value. The current limited property value of a parcel of property shall not exceed its current full cash value. The limited property value of a parcel of property shall be determined and shown on notices and tax roll as the total limited property value of the property. Separate determination shall not be made for the limited property value of the land or for the improvements on the land in reference to property parcels. So that was explained to me that they, by law, had to increase it 5%, the limited value, till it reaches full cash value. So let's hear from the assessor and see what he says.
Well, I mean, you read the statute word for word, and it simply provides that the limited property value will go up 5% until it reaches full cash value.
Right, so it is shall. So that is the way the entire state, not just Mojave County, that's the way the entire state interprets this law.
So it doesn't give us the ability to be less than 5%. It says shall be 5%.
That you have to. So you have to every year increase it 5% until it reaches its full cash value.
That's correct.
Anyone have any questions?
Madam Chairman.
Yes.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. If you look at Legislative Council is the attorneys for the legislature, and they are the primary interpreter of laws that are passed by the legislature. And I took some time and went back and took a look at their interpretation. Their interpretation does not match the application that's being applied by the assessors now. When we voted this, they said this would not lead to a mandatory 5% increase in property tax values. Otherwise, it would have never passed in a Republican-led legislature. So apparently, we need to gin up our attorneys and clarify this, because it does read rather strange, like most legislation does. But that was their interpretation, was it did not require a mandatory increase in value.
I mean, I respect...
Sure, it's not against you, it's just...
I understand.
That's what it is.
Yeah, I mean, we follow the statute, and if Mr. Espelin tells us that the statute is not applicable, then we will take his advice. But right now, we believe 42-13-301 is the direction that we, the assessor, has to take in setting future values.
Well, it might be something that we want to talk at CSA, see if the language can be clarified more, but this is how it's been interpreted. Okay, anyone else have questions?
Not about that.
Okay, all right, thank you. Okay, before we start asking questions,
I got a question for Ms. Lloyd before she sits down. The truth in taxation essentially says, if I take a look at what we just did, we raised the revenue for all of those taxes. Essentially, truth in taxation says the revenue has gone up because the values of the property have gone up and we did not reduce the rate. And even though I attended school in California, I still have the ability to do simple math. If we don't reduce that rate, we take in more money, thus everybody's tax bill is higher. Call it what you want, their checks will be larger unless the value of their property has went down. Would you agree with that statement?
I agree.
Thank you.
Okay, I have someone signed up. Mr. Robinson?
Stephen Robinson. Just to add maybe a little bit of light, before Prop 117, the primary rate was, or the taxes, the primary property tax was based on the primary rate. The law said from now on you can only base it upon the limited rate, which has applied to other issues or something like that. So that's the difference, is now the limited rate is what keeps us from paying taxes at the full property value. Is that correct, Chairman? Or Chairman? Anyway, I wanted to address one issue. Even though rates haven't gone up, revenues have gone up dramatically. It was $30 million in property taxes about 5 years ago, and it's now $39-40 million. So there has been a real increase. Also, because of that increase, in just the last 4 fiscal years from 2015, the audited financials state that there was $12 million cash, not talking about the fund balance, which includes receivables, but there was $12 million cash in the general fund. There's also a lot of other minor funds, like planning and zoning has their own operating fund, or all these little funny funds that are part of the general fund. As of just June 30th, the amount of cash, according to the Treasurer's report, which is the actual bank balance, that's what we look at. Is we don't say, well, our budget says we have $20 million, but our bank balance says we have $36 million cash. So we've nearly tripled the amount of cash in the general fund alone in 4 short years. You spent $2 million, dedicated $2 million for a new animal shelter. I understand the need. That building's 40 years old. We've had an overwhelming need for more public safety. We had a shootout in Golden Valley last week. People obviously didn't trust the government to come in and take care of them or respond in time. I'm going to implore this board to take $10 million of that cash, spread it out over the next 4 years, giving the Sheriff's Department another $2.5 million a year for additional spending so that we can put more deputies on the street. I heard the figure as low as 58 deputies are actually on the street out of the 80-something. He said Saturday that he's only got 2 vacancies. We desperately need more people on the streets. If you forget the Colorado Strip, we have the same population and landmass as Yavapai County. They have 40% to 50% more deputies. We need to have more public safety, and you have an extra at least $10 million that is available. I would encourage you to apply that until we figure out other revenue streams to support our Sheriff's Department. We just need better public safety. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Robinson.
Chairman Angus, I have a question.
Yeah.
Mr. Robinson, you seem very knowledgeable, so can I ask you how much of unfunded liabilities Mojave County owes right now?
I'll tell you what was interesting. In 2000, we had a surplus of 40% in unfunded pension liabilities, which is your pensions. Because of the economy and because of the stock market and because of poor decisions made at PSPRS, of ASRS, yeah, we're unfunded, but with good, healthy stock market, which we've seen, it could be very possible that within a very few years that we would be fully funded without adding extra money to that fund. So I understand actuarial values, and because we have a defined contribution plan, as opposed to the new one that was put into place in 2012 of a defined benefit, or no, I got that backwards. We have a defined benefit plan that the benefit goes through the roof while the money may not. A defined contribution plan gives the flexibility and eliminates that ability to have an unfunded liability. So that's to answer, I hope that answers your question.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I'm hearing that we're going to be hit again at the PSPRS. So, it'd be nice if the stock markets, that it would help, but it doesn't seem to. And those are things that we have really no power over.
To the tune of $80 million plus tax settlements that we have no control over.
Okay, so any other discussion? I did one. I want to ask, so while you were going through the numbers, did you figure out how much we'd have to lower our rates to make it so there would be absolutely no increase? No. Oh, okay. Okay.
Madam Chair, are you done with the public?
Oh, are we done? Okay, yes. Anyone else? You would like to say something?
Leanne Hoagland Smith.
Wait, excuse me. Supervisor Watson?
Yeah, Madam Chair, yes, I would just like to reiterate the information on the unfunded liabilities that we entertained. and they are in excess of $44 million. So any dollars that we can put against those liabilities, I think is money well spent, well placed. We have no idea when the tax settlements will occur, and I am sure that the pension funds are not going to cure themselves. Anyone believing that that will cure itself is probably not being very realistic. And with that, thank you very much.
Thank you, Supervisor Watson. Go on, Leanne.
Leanne Hoagland Smith, 3981 South Centennial Road, Golden Valley. I'm from the Midwest, and I'm a Purdue graduate 2 times, so maybe I'm a little confused. But back in Indiana, the Constitution of Indiana overrode any state statute. So going with Supervisor Gold, that state statute seems to be in conflict with the Constitution, and the Constitution should take priority. That's just my simple Indiana observation. Thank you.
Thank you, Leanne. Okay. Anyone else? I'm going to close the public hearing. What, Scotty, you want to say something? Oh, well, oh, I thought you were joking. Okay, Scotty, quick. Do you know what we're talking about? You just came in.
I got another Hillary joke for you, but
No, not today.
I filled out a piece of paper to comment on number 66.
You weren't here.
Huh?
I didn't see you.
Well, I filled it out.
Anyway, so go ahead and say.
No, I'm not going to do that now. You already voted on it.
Oh, okay.
So I didn't get my free speech again, Mr. Ryan.
I'm sorry. I take full responsibility for that, Scotty. Yes, sir.
I'd like to address it just for some clarification.
Go on. Come on up.
Thank you. My name is Bill Franzen. I live at 3340 Laramie Avenue in Kingman. And what my question is basically to the board now. The information I got comes from the newspaper, and it says that, some of the things you've been talking about, raising X amount of percent for the county property tax, X amount for the free library, flood district. I heard something, although I don't know whether it concerns me or not, but like for the fire or flood control or something like that. When you read these things, and I even tried to call the county office, and I says, it always says in there, okay, for $100,000, I think it's for $100,000 assessment or something. I have read something that says for a $100 assessment. And then when it comes down, so I called the office. How are we as a citizen supposed to know what that means? I mean, like, how much are you would that be telling me that my tax is going to go up? Is it going to go up $5 a month, 50 cents a month? I mean, I don't know. How would I, like many people, are on a fixed budget. And how can I set up myself a budget if I don't understand how much that's going to go up? I'm not an attorney. I've never really gotten involved in government, so part of it might be my ignorance, but I don't think I'm the only one. So when that goes in there, how do we know how much is going to go up? I mean, 2% or whatever. I talked to somebody in the county at one of the offices, and she said it was going to go up like $6 a month. I talked to another young lady, and she said it was going to go up $6 a year. Well, that's a big difference. I mean, it's not like it's going to break me, but I mean, that's a big difference when you add it up. So, I mean, I guess it's kind of a combination of a suggestion, a complaint. We don't know by looking at that how much that's going to be.
Okay.
So it's just kind of like a clarification, and I understand that maybe this newspaper didn't exactly print it. Maybe it's something different than what it is. I don't know, but I mean, it sounds to me like when you go through that, every one of those taxes are going to go up, but yet now you're telling us it's going to be a flat line. Our taxes aren't going to go up. Do
you ever look at your tax bill? Have you ever looked at it? You can see it online. You can go to our assessor's page, and you can, by parcel number or by your address or by your name, and you'll see a breakdown of all the different taxing districts, percentages. It's a great resource. So that's a great place to start, and then you can call the assessor's office, and they'll give you information. But until we vote on the actual rate like we're doing today, nobody can really tell you because we haven't voted on it yet.
Well, no, but I guess what my point is, maybe I'm not getting it across, maybe what my point is that when it says there, if it says per $100,000, for example, okay, if the house is worth, let's just say $150,000, or now it can go up.
I think you want to speak to the assessor's office, correct, Mike? You know, that would be the right place for him to go.
Madam Chairman, that'd be a great place to start.
I tried, that's what I said. One person told me it would go up $6 a year, another person told me it would go up $6 a month. I mean,
Madam Chairman.
Yes.
Who do we talk to that could actually give us some information? So I'm not disputing or arguing the price.
Wait, let's let Supervisor Gould.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Sir, I'm looking at the truth in taxation notice that was placed in the Kingman Daily Miner. So if you take a look at the Kingman Daily Miner, which 2/3 of the county did not, but it is the newspaper of record, it does tell you what the tax is going to be currently and what it will be after the proposed increase on a $100,000 home. So you have to extrapolate that to the value of your home to figure out the difference between the two.
Okay, is that a month? Is that a year?
No, that's a year.
Oh, okay.
At least with the $100,000 that you can extrapolate that when they give you the number per 100 of assessed value, I think that's somewhat confusing. So I'm glad that when they did the truth in taxation, they at least put a price tag on it. I guess you could put per year, would probably clarify that also even further, which is a good idea.
Yeah, because that's what I thought that meant, because it does give you, in that article, does give you two different totals. And so I subtracted it out. I mean, you know, it's like you, I can do simple math. That's not hard.
Right, you're as good as me, I get.
But when I did call the assessor's office, I was told two different things.
Okay, so we need to move on, but we'll speak to you after the meeting and we'll get your questions answered. Thank you. Okay, so now I'm going to close the public hearing.
Madam Chairman. Down in the front row.
Front row.
On
Somebody.
the right.
Oh, okay.
She's been trying desperately.
Thank you. Diana Francis, 4919 Thule Drive in Golden Shores, Arizona. The talk about giving more money to the sheriff's department probably is a real need, but for deputies, and if you choose to fund that, I would like for you to be able to stipulate that the sheriff can't use that for suppressors, because that was probably a big waste of money in the past. Like, if it's actually for officers, we need officers, we don't really need suppressors. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay. Anyone else? I'm looking all around.
Thank you.
Okay. Should have done it.
Going once, going twice.
Kathy Mishler, 5485 North Laguna Road, and it's the TV tax. Okay, it's going up. It's going to double the fund. The contract is cheaper this year. I would suggest you take the extra money in that fund and maybe get articles, you know, newspaper contracts, so that Bullhead City and Lake Havasu can also get the announcements about tax, truth and taxation. Thank you.
Thank you, Kathleen. Why is it that it only is in one? That's just the law, it just has to be in one, and then we put that out for bid, right?
Madam Chairman, it has to be in the county circulation, but it doesn't prohibit, I believe, it doesn't prohibit the county from expanding that circulation.
Okay, so let's do that next year. Okay, thank you. Okay, can I close it? Ready? I'm going to close the public hearing. So I need a motion.
Well, Madam Chair, because this is the budget, correct?
Well, right, this is the budget, so we just, all right, so now you want to talk about, I'm sorry, that was the public hearing, I'm sorry. Okay, it's been for several years since I've done this.
Madam Chair, part of it that's bothering me on the budget we've got in front of us, besides the spending, is that it seems to me we're giving up a lot of our control on how we do things. We're doing a 2.5% budget increase. But now we're letting some departments decide, oh, they'll just get a bulk and they'll pick and choose who they want to give their money to. I don't like that process, but if we're going to do that, then we should give that to all departments to do it. If it's good for one, it should be good for all of them. That kind of gets me. We have, you know, we're getting confusing statements from the public today about, well, we need to cut taxes and do all this, but yet we need to give the sheriff more money, and money has to come from somewhere. And I'm a little concerned, maybe Mr. Hendricks can explain to me, the sheriff has another $500,000 for compression. I think this is the third time we've done compression issues. At what point is the county going to be able to fix the compression issue if we know?
Madam Chairman, Supervisor Johnson, during the budget process, obviously, the elected officials and the department heads came with new initiatives. And the sheriff went out on a campaign and presented his plan that he believed is necessary to run his department to the public and to the Board of Supervisors. And that plan included trying to correct some deficiencies within the department, like his compression issues. It also included adding a certain amount of new deputies. I believe that number was 6, and the equipment to sustain them, to allow them to function. Our job from an administrative perspective with finance was to try to make the budget balance and to include the new initiatives and try to support the elected officials as best we could. And we did, and bring those decisions back to the board so that you could make a business decision on those new initiatives. And right now you've got a balanced budget ahead of you, which included, if I can recall, 1.58 million, 1.56, 1.58 million that would be additional new initiatives to the sheriff's office. And that's what we're looking at today.
Well, my question is, we did compressions a couple of times. Can't we fix that problem? And why are we still having a compression problem?
I would have to, I'm not the best person to answer that question. If the sheriff is available, I'd love to have him come down here.
Yeah. Oh. Looking good, Sheriff.
Thank you. Chairman Angus, Board of Supervisors. Supervisor Johnson, just for clarification, in 2017, we asked for $1.5 million for a full compression fix. At that time, the board granted us 1/3 of that, $500,000, so we're able to do a partial fix. That is the only compression raise we have done since that point. The 10-year plan that was submitted to this board included for year 1 a complete fix of the compression, which allows us to raise starting wage, to attract and retain qualified applicants, basically paying them what they're worth as compared to local agencies. We're trying to be on par with local agencies. Once we bring up that starting pay and fix the internal compression, i.e. someone who's down $4 or $5 an hour, getting them where they need to be, compression's going to drop off dramatically. This isn't going to go on forever. We're trying to get them where they need to be to allow for attraction and retention of these employees, which greatly benefits the public with the experience level that we receive, and that's the point behind the 10-year plan. Does that answer the question?
Well, I believe, and Ms. Lloyd can correct me if I'm wrong, your predecessor, Sheriff McCabe, I think he gave up those 6 positions you're getting now to fix compression at that time too. So that was like twice we've been hit, and now we're being hit a 3rd time. I guess maybe I didn't understand that we're going to have to continue to do this.
Supervisor Johnson, that's a great point, and I certainly can't speak as to what was done prior to taking office in 2017. I can tell you we have not had a staffing increase for 30 years, and if I were in office in 2016, I certainly wouldn't have given up 6 deputy positions. Basically, we're trying to get flush with where we were 4 years ago, knowing I've got 40 to 50 positions more that need to be filled over the course of time.
All right, so you're saying with this $500,000 a day, let's say next year the board gives $500,000, and that should fix the compression issue?
Yeah, if you, I wish I had it with me, if we refer back to the 10-year plan, which I am going to use as a structured presentation while in office, each year the number goes down. This year I'm asking for $1.58 million. That's to add deputy sheriffs to the street. It also brings in an additional crime tech lab, a civilian position which is desperately needed, and it raises the starting pay for our deputy sheriffs and our correction personnel who are woefully underpaid, and retention in our jail has become critical, and I know you're all aware of that. So we're trying to get the pay up to comparable wages locally. We're trying to fix the compression for those who have been loyal, who put in their time, who have the experience. Once we get them where they should have been paid all along, I think our retention is going to be remarkable.
That's the only question I
Okay.
had.
Chairman Angus?
Yes.
I just wanted to point out to the sheriff and those listening that when I came into office in 2014, your budget was $24.4 million, and then this year, or 2020, your budget's going to be $28.7 if this budget is passed. So that's an increase of $4.3 million, if I do the math right. And so we're trying. I'm a big supporter of the sheriff's office. You know that, and I know you do. You have a very complicated job to do with the fifth largest county in the nation. So God bless you and those people that serve.
Thank you, Supervisor Bishop.
Supervisor Gould.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Sheriff, I just wanted you to know that I support your initiative. My opposition to a property tax increase has nothing to do with your agency, and I believe that we can do that without a tax increase. So I just didn't want anybody to misunderstand that I somehow that I did not support your plan.
Supervisor Gould, I appreciate that, and if I could add one thing while I have the podium. I want to make sure that the public does understand when we turn in funding each year. I wish I didn't turn in funding, because that would mean I have full staff. We don't have large individual budget items at the sheriff's office, so we need a lot of increases, but that will come in time. At the end of the year, when I don't have positions filled, say there's 30 corrections positions, that money grows rapidly. That's the money that I've reached out to before. A great point that came up was the suppressors. That's a one-time cost. I will always use funding for personnel if I can ensure that the funding will continue year after year. And I want to make that very clear because we desperately need staff. Supervisor Gould mentioned before, it's great to have new cars and buildings, but they're useless if I don't have deputies to put in them. So, thank you.
Thank you very much. Anybody else?
Yes, Madam Chair. It's not with the sheriff, no.
Oh, okay.
Thank you.
It
Thank
kind of goes about him, but it's not.
Can I make a comment before you, because you're going on to something that you said earlier about giving departments the money, the salaries to give as they please. So, you know, to me, that takes care over time the compression issue. If we keep giving the the across the board raises, it never fixes the compression issue. And so that, to me, was a way of doing it like they do in the private sector. Several departments wanted to do it, and I'd be all for letting every department do that if that's what they wanted.
Well, and part of the problem, I think I see with that is some of the departments submitted what they were going to do with the money, and some of the departments didn't. So we basically don't have any control. We're approving a budget that I couldn't tell anybody where the money's going. And I think the problem we have when we do the 2.5% increase, which we've had forever, is the 2.5% increase should move all ranges. For some reason, the people with seniority, we just give everybody a 2.5% raise, and the guy that's at top step, politically correct, I guess, he gets stopped from getting any more money because we don't raise the range. You know, if you're going to say everybody gets a 2.5% raise, to me, that should increase the range also.
Right, but I don't, when you're saying that, so you just said that some people don't get it because it hits
in the past, yeah, if you're a senior man, you don't.
Madam Chairman, and Supervisor Johnson's correct that in the past that was the case. In 2013, when we did the across-the-board raise, that wasn't a raise to the range. It was just a raise to the employees, and then the board came back at a later date, if I recall, and corrected that with our senior employees that were at the step 10 and afforded them raises. So with the exception of the clerk of the Superior Court, the clerk's office, and the treasurer's office, what's being proposed is across the board 2.5% raise. What's that raise that's being proposed is a raise to the range. So it will be all encompassing and not like it was in 2013. Thank you, Madam Chairman.
Does that answer your question?
Yes, Madam Chair. The other thing that I have, and it's small, but it doesn't appear that we have budgeting for hepatitis A shots. I believe our first responders, I don't know, I guess the sheriff can come up again if he needs to, but I don't know that we're giving all of our jail personnel the hepatitis A, but our first responders, I think, really need to be having this, and we don't seem to be, where we used to be pretty proactive in taking care of our county employees, we don't seem to be that proactive with doing that anymore.
Is that true?
Madam Chairman, I believe the health department has been proactive with our jail personnel, but we probably, it would be a benefit to hear.
Is Denise here?
Yes, she is. Thank you, Madam Chairman.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the board. Sorry. We have actually actively been engaging with the jail to vaccinate staff over there, as well as inmates. We did receive free vaccine for this from the state.
What about your search and rescue?
We're working on that. We're actually prioritizing kind of the highest risk and then moving it out to Sheriff's Department and other departments to work with those groups.
Now, do you need funding for that, though, instead of trying to get, I mean, it's nice to get nothing's ever free, but you need local funding for that, because I just think it's getting more and more important with these diseases that are hitting our people, that whether we get reimbursed or not, I don't think our people should be being exposed to these diseases without having some kind of immunization.
Certainly. I don't disagree with that at all. I think this is relatively new, the situation, and we're just trying to address it kind of as locally as we can. Again, looking at the most at-risk staff and then expanding that out to other staff. Where the cost really comes in for us is for our employees to actually give the vaccinations and to find time to do that. The jail actually handled the jail in the sense that we actually did some vaccinations for the staff, but the jail nurses vaccinated the inmates over there. So we've been trying to accommodate through our appointments the other staff to come in and get their vaccinations through our clinics.
All right, thank you. I want to make sure now's the time with the budget if we need money to get it in there.
How long do you think that process is going to take?
You know, it's really hard to say. And by that, I mean we're just trying to work with all the staff to get them in during their schedules. And the leadership in those departments have allowed those staff to come over during their work time, which is really helpful. I would say maybe 3 to 4 months, and that's really a guesstimate. But it's really kind of depending on looking at the Sheriff's Department schedules and deputies, and then looking at it.
But you have the funding for it.
I believe we can manage it, honestly. I think we can at this point. And if we need anything additional, we'll certainly come back and make that request. But I believe we're in a good place right now.
Okay. Maybe in a few months you can come and do a follow-up report for us.
We would love to.
Okay, thank you. Anything else? Any other questions?
Ma'am, what do they currently vaccinate the jailers for?
Ooh, very good question. And I might need some assistance with that if you don't mind. Thanks.
The detention officers are eligible for the hepatitis B vaccination, and then with the hepatitis A outbreak, we'll be offering the hepatitis A vaccination from this point forward as well.
Do they have a vaccination for C?
No.
Because many of those inmates are drug users.
Correct, yes. And part of the bloodborne pathogen training discusses how to prevent the transmission of hepatitis C, but at this point, there's no vaccination available for hepatitis C.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
I think my last point, Madam Chair, is just on the budget, and we've already kind of discussed it previously, but I think that more money should be going in the contingency fund, because we do have a lot of unfunded mandates that are not unfunded mandates, but lawsuits that are coming down, and I think $3 million is not enough. That's it. That's all.
Okay. Anyone else like to say anything about, or ask Coral any questions, or make any comments? Nothing? Sure. Supervisor Watson?
Just a reminder, Chairman Angus, that we have upkeep and maintenance on all our buildings for the next number of years. So we need to keep that in mind when we're putting these numbers into the budget. I just hate to see it fall short.
Okay. Anyone else? All right. So I will need a motion. Somebody? Is anyone going to make a motion?
We're not going into executive session then?
No.
Okay.
No, we just need, we
So
need to
there's no need
approve.
for that.
This is to approve the adoption of Board of Supervisor Resolution 2019-083, to adopt the budget for fiscal year 2019 to 2020 property tax levies and final budget with any applicable modifications, which we did not do.
Chairman Angus, I'd be glad to make that motion.
Okay, so we have a motion. I need a second.
Second.
Motion second. Roll call.
Chairman Watson, Supervisor Watson,
Yes.
Supervisor Johnson,
No.
Supervisor Bishop,
Yes.
Supervisor Gould,
No.
Chairman Angus.
Yes.
Motion carries 3-2.
Okay. Now the Board of Supervisors will now adjourn from the special meeting and resume the regular meeting, but before that, let's take a 10-minute break, please. We'll see you back here at about 11:30.
this one is me. Yeah. I gotta be careful with the guys thing I'm on the board. That's what I was wondering, which number yours. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, that's where they are on the agenda. I have to stay. That's, I have the perfect in my car, but I also have my attorney that I'm sort of this year. So I'm hoping that this is done by the time this comes out. And also, do you need to get out there? You want me to just kind of...
It is. Here it, yeah. That was weird. Okay. Item 68, to approve the adoption of the Board of Supervisor Resolution number 2019-070, denial of an amendment to the Mojave County General Plan and the amendment to the Virgin River Communities Area Plan. This commission recommended denial by unanimous vote, and this was continued from our meeting of July 1st.
Anyone signed up, Madam?
Yes, Madam Chairman, thank you. This is in my district.
Okay.
And I concurred with the applicant, Mr. Burrows. There doesn't seem to be any ability for him to be able to reach any consensus with the property owners around him. So at this point, I will be making a motion for the adoption of the denial.
Second.
Okay. We have motion second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Item 69, approve the adoption of the Board of Supervisor Resolution number 2019-071, which is another denial of a rezone of assessors parcel numbers 402-22-202 and -203. And again, the commission recommended denial by unanimous vote, and again, continued from our meeting of July 1st.
And thank you, Chairman Angus. I would like to make a motion to adopt the denial of the rezone.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Okay. This was brought by our Procurement Director, Becky O'Brien, at item 70, sitting as the Board of Directors of the Mojave County Television District. Discussion and possible action to approve contract award of contract 19-SS-38 maintenance service from the Mojave County TV translator system to WECOM. And I do have somebody signed up to speak to this, and that's Leanne Hoagland Smith.
Oh, excuse me.
Again, Leanne Hoagland Smith, 3981 South Centennial Road, Golden Valley. I am in favor of this. I'm always pleased to see government reducing expenditures, but I also am a little confused. It must be my math brain, because on a previous resolution, you doubled the rate of the TV district. So you're reducing your costs, but you're increasing your rate to increase revenue. I'm just a little confused. Thank you.
Mike, can you explain that?
Hey, Madam see if is mine working? Yeah, there we go. Madam Chairman, if you recall, on one of the tough budget years, the county increased our property tax and reduced the taxes for the TV district and also the taxes for the library district. During that time, there was considerable monies in the contingency, and what that created is we had an over-expenditure in relationship to the existing revenues for the TV district. So we spent down the TV district contingency to where now I believe there's only about a half year's left if we kept overspending. So we're asking the board to take a look at what we did in your budget portion of this meeting, We increase the TV district to where we believe the revenues will equal the expenditures, including the contract for the maintenance of the district. In this particular item, we're asking for the board to continue with the operation maintenance by week on.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? I need a motion.
Motion approved.
I need a second.
Second.
I'll second the motion.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
Okay, on to item 71. What? Okay. Discussion and possible action, approve the recommendation of the county manager to appoint Christopher Stavris, did I pronounce that right? As the Mojave County Public Defender effective August 12, 2019, at a range 31 between step 7 and 8, equating to a starting salary of $120,000 and authorize up to 1 month of salary as reimbursement for moving expenses.
Chairman Angus, motion to approve.
Second.
And I'll second the motion.
Okay, motion second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Carried. Item 72, this was brought by me. Discussion and possible action to approve the adoption of the Board of Supervisor Resolution number 2019-086, supporting the City of Needles, California, in declaring their city a Second Amendment sanctuary city. Before we go on and ask for motion on this, I wanted to make a change, and I can do that, right? I want to make a change on the motion, on the resolution itself. Okay.
The draft one you're talking about?
The draft one. Okay. First, I want to, two people from the city council from Needles wanted to be here today, the mayor and the councilman who actually put this thing in motion. And he wrote a little something. I'm just going to read a little of it because it was kind of long. He said he wants to thank the Mojave County Board of Supervisors for its consideration of a formal resolution supporting the City of Needles' decision to declare itself a Second Amendment sanctuary city in an effort to bring about change in California's overly restrictive firearm and ammunition laws and their impact on law-abiding citizens. They did this on Tuesday, July 9th. The City Council of Needles has taken an oath to support and defend the Constitution of the United States, just like many elected officials. We believe that these are not empty words, but something that we are charged to do on behalf of our citizens. Because of this oath and the ever-increasing state restrictions on lawful gun owners, the City Council felt it necessary to take a stand for our citizens in providing protections for their constitutional rights, and specifically their rights under the Second Amendment. And then he goes on about the lawful commerce between the states is also, preventing lawful commerce between the states is also a violation of the Commerce Clause. California is preventing people from Needles from purchasing ammunition in Arizona and carrying it back over the border into California unless the ammunition vendor in Arizona essentially incorporates in California. Even the Ninth Circuit has stated that is unlawful to place these type of restrictions on out-of-state businesses. And then he goes on and he says other cities like LA and San Francisco have declared themselves sanctuary cities for those entering the country illegally, and they pick and choose what laws they will follow. Everyone just goes along with it, and there is no outcry from state officials. We just want to make it easier for those living here to get access to the ammunition they need and for visitors to shop here with their legal firearms and ammunition without worrying about violating any laws. So that's sort of the history of it, and so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to read the resolution with the change. And so it's resolution number 2019-086, a resolution of the Mojave County Board of Supervisors supporting the City of Needles, California, in declaring their city a Second Amendment sanctuary city. I'm going to take out the next sentence, and then it goes on, whereas the Board of Supervisors met in regular sessions this 5th day of August 2019, and whereas the City of Needles, California is a duly incorporated city and is an adjacent community to Mojave County, and whereas Mojave County recognizes the U.S. Constitution as the law of the land, which includes the Second Amendment, and whereas the Second Amendment to the U.S. Constitution, adopted in 1791 as part of the Bill of Rights, protects the inalienable and individual rights of the people to keep and bear arms. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the County of Mojave does hereby support the City of Needles in declaring their city a Second Amendment sanctuary city and their efforts to support the San Bernardino so you take that out too. So we're just going to say the County of Mojave does hereby support the City of Needles in declaring their city a Second Amendment sanctuary city.
Motion to approve.
Got a motion second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Thank you very much. Item 73, brought by Supervisor Jean Bishop. Discussion and possible action to approve Mojave County's 2020 CSA legislative program proposals and allow for additional proposals to be brought forth as needed. Supervisor Bishop.
Thank you, Chairman Angus. These are proposals that are being put forward for us to take to the County Supervisors Association legislative meeting that will be coming up soon. There's 3 different proposals. The first one is from our indigent defense, Blake Schroeder, in regards to juvenile dependency solutions, which we've tried to get through in the past, and we're not successful. So this will be kind of a rerun on that. And then we have a new HERF revenue legislative proposal from Steve Wachowski from Public Works. And then from our assessor, we have a repeal and replace proposal for HB 2493, in which it's been determined that solar panels solar panel industries are getting some unfair treatment. And so Jeannie Kinch wants to address that again and see if we can repeal or replace that. So those are the 3 items that will be taken to the CSA.
How much longer do we have to come up with proposals?
I think we can come up with them at the meeting, at the agenda.
And I don't know if this rises to CSA level, but it has to do with, again, with something we were talking about here today, and that's wording, that the way these state statutes are worded. This one being this one we just talked about with Supervisor Gould.
117.
Yeah, 117, and then that statute I read, because it just seems, he's saying that wasn't the intent, so I want some clarification on that. I think it's important going forward. And also, this thing we talk about every year about accepting the tax rates from special taxing districts, where it says that the Board of Supervisor has to accept them. I don't like that wording, and I don't understand why we have to accept it. We have to vote to accept a tax rate that we had nothing to do with. And our clerk of the board said that when she gets reports, how many, you have to get quarterly reports from the taxing district?
Chairman Angus, no, I get a special district report from them once a year, and then they also turn in their budgets.
So they don't give us their reports, they give it to the clerk of the board. So why can't the clerk of the board accept the tax rate? Why do we? It's our vote. It's forever. And so if all of us don't agree with it and we all vote no, what happens? I mean, these are decisions made by other elected boards. We talk about it every year. We got a Attorney General's opinion. So instead of fighting it, why don't we just ask the legislature to put something in that the clerk of the board accepts it, not this Board of Supervisors?
Madam Chairman, I'm going to really stretch. I hope Ryan doesn't think badly of me for this, but my administration and I can help coordinate with the county attorney's office to draft up something for your suggestions. What the procedure will be is once they're complete, we'll place it on the board for the entire board to vote on moving them forward to CSA.
Okay.
So we can certainly do that.
Okay. So that's what I would like to add to it. Okay. Anyone else?
In general or on that?
On that. No?
I have a comment on the proposals.
Okay. That's what we're talking about.
If we take a look at the highway funding, what you're asking the legislature to do is put a 1 cent per kilowatt tax on everybody's electric bill.
Correct.
I am not in favor of a 1 cent per tax on every kilowatt tax on everybody's electric bill. I prefer direct taxes rather than, that's a pretty indirect tax. You're taxing electricity for the construction of roads.
Okay, but this will come in front of us again, right?
No, Madam Chairman, this is voting to pass these on to CSA and support them to CSA. So if there's any changes, we could look at them individually and have the board roll call vote on them individually. Generally, if something's going to CSA, obviously CSA would like to see full support of the board for that particular item going forward.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
On that item, I think it was a novel way to approach it, and I commend Mr. Latowski, which I hate to do publicly, but he put some thought into it, and it was my feeling was the same way of, possibly the way Senator or Supervisor Gould was when I first saw it. But the state has not funded the highway user revenue funds. Our roads are in terrible shape while they continue to add more roads, which they probably have to do. The idea that if, I think, 20 cents, they would have to raise the gasoline tax to try to fix the roads that they have now. The amount of money that would be brought in and the little, and I'm the same as all the rest of you, I hate paying any kind of money to anybody, but it's a novel idea, and I think it's worthwhile for them. I don't think we'll get the support down there, but I think it's a novel idea, and I appreciate somebody bringing something forward instead of just bitching about not having money all the time. At least he has an answer.
Sure.
Okay. Then I need a motion.
Motion to approve.
Second.
I have a motion second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Okay, so that was 4-1. All right, I want to go back for a second and apologize to the two people who signed up for it, and I had it right in front of me, went under my thing, for 72. Actually, one was for it and one was opposed. So I apologize. Is that okay, Mary? You're going to hate me forever? Okay, thank you. All right. Last item, item 74, brought by Supervisor Johnson, discussion and possible action to direct staff to investigate and bring back their findings, recommendation for action at the next board meeting regarding allegations involving unauthorized use of the Mojave County Fairgrounds. Before, I do have somebody signed up, sure, and that is Don Lynch. Don Lynch, is he still here?
My name is Don Lynch. My address is 1315 Franklin Court, Kingman. I am a member of the Mojave County Fair Association Board of Directors, and I am the treasurer of that board. The particular incident that Mr. Johnson is referring to has to do with a fairgrounds employee engaging in some rather reckless and foolish, reprehensible behavior involving motor vehicles, personal motor vehicles, as I understand it, on the fairgrounds. I'd like to publicly thank the person who brought the incident to our attention because it did allow us to deal with it. The individual who was involved in this incident, once our fair manager became aware of it, was immediately called on the carpet for it, told to clean it up. Well, he considered further what action should be taken. After due consideration, the employee was suspended without pay, and it will be taken up before the full board of directors at the next meeting. So I really have a hard time seeing how this involves the Board of Supervisors is with regards to our lease or anything else. It was an individual incident. It did not involve the Fair Association and should be looked at as such. Also, it's been referred to as possibly being illegal activity, and I think we should let the Kingman Police Department, the Kingman prosecutor, and maybe the Mojave County prosecutor weigh in on that if there is any illegal activity occurred. And I also have to say that I believe this is just a continuation of one board member's efforts to continue his malicious attacks on the Fair Association in an attempt to move the fairgrounds from Kingman, which is the county seat, down closer to Lake Havasu City, and that's about all I have to say on this. Thank you.
What would you like to say, Supervisor Johnson?
I always like how it gets down to personal. This has nothing to do with personal attacks. They're ignoring the fact that the Mojave County owns that property. It's an asset of the taxpayers. Anytime anybody is doing something that's reckless and disregards our property, it should be brought forward. I didn't personally witness this. I was contacted, and then I saw later on that another citizen had contacted the board as a whole. And so that everybody knows what we're talking about. Nathan, can you put that video up? Kind of go along with this. It doesn't go on very long.
Are those law enforcement lights?
Looks like it. I was surprised that the car didn't catch on fire, because a lot of times when guys do that, Do you have that other one, Nathan, also?
Oh, there's another one?
I'm guessing this is inside one of our buildings, but what you see is they have two vehicles and they're hooked them up by chain, and then they're going to, start the pulling where you see them, kind of losing control.
I hadn't seen this one. That is the inside of the building, though.
But obviously, it's unsafe with chain control.
More than one person involved.
And we talk about the part that kind of really bothered me was, I'm guessing it's the people involved, posted these videos and even tagged, Mojave County Fairgrounds and everything else in it. So, you can see the smoke that's there. I don't know if there's fire there or not. But, my recommendation and motion would be just to refer this to staff to investigate and bring it back to us.
Second? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
Okay, that was 4-1. Okay, if there's nothing else, then this meeting is adjourned. Oh, yes, Supervisor Watson?
Yes, Supervisor Angus. Chairman, I did vote in favor of investigating this further.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. There was that delay. I'm very sorry. Okay, so it was unanimous. Thank you very much, gentlemen.
Thank you. Thank you. And thank Supervisor Johnson for bringing this item forward.